Hi, everybody. Thomas Altman, co-founder of Tasio here. And man, has it been a crazy week here in the United States. Now, as the dust is starting to settle, pictures becoming a little bit more clear, what we wanted to do is go back and look at some of the election forecasts and talk through, areas where they may have gone wrong, reasons for why that may have happened, and areas where they have maybe failed to communicate uncertainty in a way that was effective and useful for the general public. And what we want to do is from there kind of pick out 5 key lessons that we think you guys can use in your association when you create your predictive models. But to start out at a very high level, this has not been a failure for predictive analytics. I think now as the pictures are becoming more clear, there was a lot of ways where aggregator sites like 538 and The Economist proved to be very effective. They were right in a lot of different ways. But there were some key ways in which they weren't that I think are going to have some good value to you guys if you understand sort of how to improve on some of the modeling you may want to do as you use techniques like this in your organization. So the first key area where we think there could be a lot of improvements is in the sample sizes. So the polling data that came in relied on fairly small sample sizes, around 700 to 1,000 people to calculate the likelihood of an outcome for a whole state. In that area, you really have a wide range of uncertainty. So several hundred people can be enough to give you a sense of what is likely to happen, but there's a lot of additional effort you have to go in to make those small numbers work. So for you and your organization, when you are looking at predictive modeling, you want to make sure you have a large sample size, especially on infrequent events. So for your cases, if you have some outcome that happens very infrequently, you need to have a lot of data to back that up so you can forecast it correctly. This is another small sample size that I think is interesting for modeling presidential elections, is this is an event that happens once every 4 years. So not only were we only taking small 700 person samples, we were actually using historical events that only happened maybe 12 to 15 times in the modern era where there's been polling. So you really had 15 examples of something that you could model against. So when it's small like that, and you have both small sample sizes and infrequent events, you get a larger range of uncertainty. And what's going to need to happen is you're going to need to communicate that uncertainty well, so that people can find the outputs of your model useful. Another area where we think some of these sites could have done better is with the type of data that they were getting. So when you have these small sample sizes of 700 people, what you end up doing is you get kind of concentrated ranges of different demographic groups. And then you have to assume some sort of monolithic behavior behind those demographic groups that does not apply. So what you found is some of these groups, broad range Hispanic groups, behave differently depending on their country of origin. So if people immigrated from Cuba, their voting behavior is wildly different than if they immigrated from Mexico, Central America, or some South American countries. So making sure you're able to segment your data in a really smart way. And I think not assuming demographic equals some sort of behavioral destiny is also really important. So if you're segmenting your data and you're using characteristics like age, gender, ethnic background, you're probably not going to get that predictive of a model out of that as you would, say, modeling their behavior. You'll find oftentimes that people from different backgrounds may overlap in the way they behave in different ways. And using some sort of behavioral metric instead of a demographic metric gives you much better results, and something that we try to do here at Tasio.